Hi, my name is Ruari. Sorry, we were having a little chat before. I'm talking to you from the headquarters of Vivaldi in Oslo. Next week, a few of us, including these two, are traveling to Iceland to work with our colleagues for a week or two. But before we did that, we thought we would have a quick chat to kind of thank you for being fans and also maybe answer some of your questions. Earlier this week, we had the Android 5.5 launch, which I think went pretty well.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we're here to chat about that and any questions you have more generally about Android. It's an informal chat, so I think we'll just probably get started. Let's start with my two colleagues here. So this is Atle and Jarle. Atle is a designer. He's responsible for, obviously, a lot of the UI and how things look and feel on the Android browser, but also actually more generally on desktop as well. But maybe, Atle, you'd like to say something more about yourself?
Yeah, as Rory said, I'm a designer, so far the only one on the Android design team. So I've been involved in the whole process since the beginning. And we do have, like I said, we work on desktop, of course, as well. So I work there as well, together with the other designer, Mickey. But yeah, I've been designing this product since we launched it. So been here since the beginning.
Yeah. And this is my other colleague, Jarle. Jarle is the lead designer for, actually, I should say mobile, not designer. Sorry, I'm stealing your lead developer. And I should say mobile. It's not just Android, because there's a little bit more to it, and we'll cover that in a minute. But perhaps you'd like to say something about yourself, besides being a designer. Sorry, developer.
Yeah, well, I'm heading up the Android team and also work as a developer, and have been working on the Android browser since the beginning. Also been working on mobile devices for a very long time previously. So
yeah, you're like up to what, 20 years or something now?
Something like that. Yeah.
So there might even be some viewers here who haven't even been alive as long as you've been doing this. Yeah. So yeah, lots of experience from both of these two guys. So let's talk about Android. We're going to start out with a few pre-prepared topics. We have some topics from our ambassadors who sent some things in to start with. We'll begin with those, and then we'll look at the live chat to kind of see what other people want to talk about as well. So we're going to start with an easy question. Well, we'll see if it's easy. It says, what makes Vivaldi better than any other browser on Android?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of personal, I guess, right? But for me, I think it's kind of the same as on the desktop. It's the privacy, right? We are genuinely a private browser, and we don't track anything, which I really appreciate. So that's like the main thing for me, and also the ability to customize things and make it your own. Like we have, now quite recently we have the themes or color schemes on Android as well, which I quite like to use and personalize. And positioning the tabs, where I want them, at top or bottom, that level of customization, I think, is, for me at least, what makes it great and better than many others.
I think it definitely makes it unique. I mean, a lot of the other browsers have some of our features, but no one really has them all. And also, I think as a company, we're just more open to, let's try something else. If someone has a different workflow,
definitely,
we'll give them that. So I think, yeah, that sounds about true. Is there anything you wanted to add, Jarle?
I liked, as Atle mentioned, that it's easy to change your theme and things like that. It's very customizable if you compare it to other browsers on Android. So yeah, that is a kind of Vivaldi's thing, that it should be very customizable.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we have a very short path from someone asking us, for a feature request or anything, and then, we could be. I mean, there have been cases, in a matter of weeks, it's been implemented.
Yeah.
From people asking.
We can't promise that will always be true.
It has happened, but I mean, it's a pretty short, path. So we do listen a lot to people using our product.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask questions here, who knows? Maybe we out there add something, particularly if it's something that we like the sound of and we can implement easily. I think sometimes things come into the browser and people wonder why did they prioritize this or that, but it can be a combination of factors, and often it's like how easy it is. If we have another feature lined up which is similar, maybe it doesn't make sense for that now, but we're definitely open to ideas, so you can give us your ideas as well. So the next question is, what devices can run Vivaldi on Android?
Yeah, basically any device running Android. And we have phones, tablets, we have cars, we have browsers for the Polestar 2, Polestar 3, which was announced this week, actually.
Yeah, for people who are not familiar, there's a car. It's a fantastic car. Actually. You have one yourself.
Yes, I have one. And we also have a browser in Renault cars, Renault Megane. We're also discussing with other car manufacturers. And also there's you can sideload Vivaldi on the Android TV, but you will probably need a mouse and a keyboard to actually use it. But it is possible. So it runs on any Android device, basically.
Yeah, and I think our presence in cars in particular is something a bit special, right?
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of browsers there.
No, we are the only browser on Android Automotive, and we obviously made a special version of Vivaldi for Android Automotive, but it is very similar to our tablet version. So
yeah, I think that kind of goes into what you said before about being open to workflows. It's also about being open to just other platforms, other things. It's the same on desktop where we run on, a lot of browsers have a Linux browser, but we have a Linux browser for ARM and other things as well. And it's kind of the ethos of the company to be open to more platforms, more options, and so on. It's not to be locked down. So so you can run it on anything except iOS, or maybe we'll come to that. So what does the development process for Vivaldi on Android look like? And we'll start with you, Atle, because I think there might be a couple sides of this.
Yeah, there's kind of two paths, I guess.
Yeah.
So like I said before, we kind of, we do listen a lot to the people using our product. So, oftentimes we'll get a feature request either from our users or from something internally or the bug tracking system or anywhere. And we'll look at the, this feature or bug fix and then see what's needed to be done, and then usually we would start with a design sketch and then make a concept and kind of get that all settled in, and then it will be handed over to development, right? So the prioritization is kind of depending on who's available and that, but the process is the same, right? We sketch out and design and agree on the direction first, and then it's handed over to development. It's usually how it goes.
And on the development side, how do you see it? And is there anything else you'd like to add about the process?
Well, we could say something about the cycle of the development of the new versions we put out, because that is kind of dependent on the Chromium release cycle. So we put a lot of resources into adapting to new versions when we get new versions from Chromium.
Yeah.
And of course, sometimes that is an easy task. Sometimes it takes a long time to adapt to whatever Chromium has done lately. So
yeah, I should say, so the release cycle for Chromium, we're built on Chromium, and I think what we really add to the browser market space is the UI, customizability, and features and so on. But underneath, it's a Chromium browser, like many others actually.
Yeah. And
Chromium has a 4-week cycle. They have also an 8-week cycle if you want to do like an extended release. And I know on Android, a lot of that cycle is just really getting things back on track, right? To integrate our features with the new versions. So there is a formidable kind of overhead there. I mean, it's worth it in the long run. You get a fast, update, secure browser with our great features, but there is a lot of the development effort is just maintenance, right?
Also maintenance.
Yeah.
Well, a big part of it is, right?
Big part of it.
Yeah, very big part of it. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. We've got 2 questions now about favorite features, and they got a slightly different angle. So we'll go with the first one first, and I want you to appreciate the nuance here. It's what are your favorite features that you've worked on? We can start with you, Atle.
Yeah, so as we kind of touched on earlier, being the only designer on the team, I kind of work on most of the features, right? So
you got a favorite, right?
Yeah, it's like your own children, right? who's your favorite? It's hard. But I mean, that I worked on, right?
That you worked on,
yeah. So for me, I'm gonna maybe say the panels. We have many of them, right? But I mean the panel as a whole, as a concept, I really like because that's also quite unique to us, and it's kind of a big part of the Vivaldi kind of package. What's different about us, and I do use them a lot. So I would say the panels.
Panels, okay. And what about you?
What I've enjoyed working on, I would say the QR code reader, for instance. Also the ad blocker.
The QR code reader because it was different? Or?
Different, yeah.
Yeah.
The other features, but it's a good feature.
Yeah. I mean, if we can mention more, you mentioned twice now, so maybe I can say. I can also say themes because I'm a designer, so I like the themes a lot.
Yeah. The pixels.
Yeah. So that's nice, right? Being able to pick your own colors and having the dark and light mode and set even custom colors. So that was a fun one to work on.
Okay. Yeah. So the next question, which is kind of almost the same, but it's slightly different angle, is what is your favorite feature to use in Vivaldi?
So that's what I meant earlier with the panels. We have, there's many panels. So, individually, I do like the notes panels. I use notes for everything. And that's, again, kind of a cross, platform thing because I use them on my desktop and then I need to bring them all along on the phone. So I use notes all the time. That's a pretty good one. So I think, again, we want to do even more there, I think, in the future. There's more we can do. So something I'm excited about myself because I use it a lot. So, yeah, notes.
Notes, okay.
Yeah, I use notes a lot, and I also like the feature that we have copy to note, so you can actually select text and just copy to a new note.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. We also have the reading list. We use the reading list a lot.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it as well here. One of the things that's really nice about those kind of features that we layer on top, which you don't find in other browsers, is that they're also part of our sync. They're synced. So, I mean, you mentioned it in desktop, you have your notes there. So, you can really work on something on the go, and then you can come to your desktop and you have the big screen and so on. And then if you have more ideas, and same with the reading list and everything else. I think that the power is often in like the mobile browser combined with the desktop browser. If you take the whole ecosystem, it works really nicely together.
Yeah, that's to get all the main benefits, you have to kind of have an account and synchronize, at least in my opinion, and you get the full benefits.
Yeah, definitely. You also both touched on the ad blocker, tracker blocker, and I do love that myself. I have a thing for privacy, and I mean that's a bit special that you can kind of keep track of. Well, prevent people keeping track of what you're doing, basically.
And we did some recently. We worked together on this tracker blocker dialog in the latest release. Which is now slightly more polished and better looking. So that's recently, kind of been worked on as well.
Yeah,
I guess the second version you can call it.
Okay. Is there a feature you'd like to implement, or an existing feature you'd like to add more onto?
Well, I just mentioned notes. There's more things we can do there, which we're kind of working on. I can't share too many details, but it's improving the notes for sure. But did you ask for new features, which we have?
It could be new, or it could be like extensions of features we have, but new ones, and I'm sure people will be interested.
And again, I'm going to bring up the themes because there's a lot more we can do there too, in terms of we have the themes.vivaldi.net for desktop, which are even more customizable. So having even bigger level of customization on Android as well would be cool to have completely custom themes. So adding on that, so that would be interesting to see.
Okay. Right. Well, we know what we're up to, and let's carry on a bit more. This time we're going to have some questions. Those were kind of generic questions that come up a lot. We have some specific questions from some of our ambassadors. I'll say hi to the chat as well. I should just say there have been some questions coming in, and I'm going to address them soon, but I just wanted to go through some of the ambassador ones first, and then we'll have a look at the chat. So thanks for that, guys. Okay, so to start off with the ambassadors ones, these are people who help promote us and explain the product to others. So we thought we'd give them a little favor and look at their questions first. I hope nobody's too offended. Absolutely. So the first one is from Oros, and I hope I'm saying your name right because I'm not 100% sure. And he's written the following: are new widget shortcuts planned to be implemented in the future? specifically to existing Vivaldi features like the translator, notes, reading lists, and maybe tasks if it gets implemented at some point.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. I really want this myself as well, personally. So we have, I mean, pretty much you can take any of the panels and make them into a widget, right? So, and we recently launched tasks on desktop, and I would like to see that added as both a panel and also a widget. It's a great candidate, and again with the notes, they are also really fitting to be used as a widget, making it even easier to access your notes and add new notes even without having to open the browser. So that's one. So I think any of the panels could be added, and there's maybe things like the speed dials could be added as a widget. Would be fun to try out.
Yeah.
Maybe even like having separate, the menu entries. Some of those could be kind of extracted and put as shortcuts potentially. There's a lot of things we can do there. So I think this is a big area for us to explore more. We've talked a lot about this internally, and we want to do more there.
Yeah, I think whenever you have like a browser with a lot of features like ours, and in some ways we go a bit outside the browser space, then people want to access those individual things in their own right. I mean, there's always a joke, it's almost like we're an operating system ourselves, but then you need access points into that. I've seen questions on social media along the same lines that, they want to like do things like they see this URL, they want to read it later, they want to add it straight to our reading list, or they want to add it straight to bookmarks, or they want to, as you say, open straight into notes. So yeah, it's a very understandable request actually.
And I mean, you could say that the notes could be their own app in many ways. We could have a standalone app, and the widget in many ways is that.
It's kind of that, yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. So definitely you'll see more of that coming, I hope, pretty soon.
Yep. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one is from Evan, and he says, are there plans to integrate extension support into the browser? And that's a fun one.
We have been discussing that for a long time, and there's been a lot of requests for it. And
we tried it, in fact.
We actually tried to do it, in the beginning. And the problem with it is that, it is not impossible to do technically, but it is a nightmare when you come to maintenance of the code.
Yeah, that's the thing that we notice, I think, really is there are a couple of browsers who've done this.
Yeah.
What you notice with them, Chromium browsers, what you notice with them is they don't maintain, they don't get to the latest version, right?
Exactly.
And so they're always a step behind. And this is a problem when we talk about the 8-week cycle, because that 8-week cycle includes security fixes.
Yeah.
If you don't release every 8 weeks, you're going to be behind. So it would be like a trade-off. Yeah, we could do this when you're on an old version, but then maybe have security problems.
Exactly.
And this kind of goes back to our design philosophy as well. We want to have everything built in, and you should not really need to have extensions.
No.
Yeah.
So, like we said in the beginning, you can ask us for something, and it's a high chance we'll look into implementing it if there's anything missing, right? So, and it's a security perspective, which is very important for us. Trusting third-party developers to make something could be dangerous. So we like to make things internally and natively.
And that's why we built the ad blocker into the browser.
Yeah, it was one of our first. It was our first big feature, right? Yeah. And I think what we had from that is we had a bunch of users who saying we want extensions, and they want them for different reasons. But a very large percentage, what they actually wanted was tracker and ad blocking, right?
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, we just do this, and it does actually have some advantages because there's a lot of talk nowadays on manifest v3 and v2, and this is about like what extensions we'll be able to do in the future. And one of the problems, an ongoing discussion, is that it will be harder to do tracker and ad blocking through extensions in the future. So having our own gives us some level of control, which could potentially be better if things change.
Yeah.
We also done some other back-end work to allow small scripts to run on a page-by-page basis. I don't think we ever finalized hooking up, but that is another way people use extensions, right? So in theory, we could develop like a way for you to run like light versions of extensions or something. I mean, I'm not promising anything here, but it is possible to run something that's not like a full extension, but
if we can keep building on our page actions, that could be built upon to make this user facing and
In the old days, people would talk about like user.js and these kind of terms. It would be something like that could be potentially done to allow you to have manipulation of pages and so on.
Yeah. But I mean, I would encourage people to just go to our forums and ask if there's anything missing, so we could look into that instead of Because it's not possible for us to maintain.
No, I don't think we're going to be doing full extensions is the thing, but we can add more features as we did for the track route blocker. We could maybe do smaller things that would enable the same kind of things, but full extension seems unlikely.
Yeah, we prefer native features to third-party extensions.
Yeah, basically.
Performance and safety.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that was Ivan. And then there's one from the Trader Wolf. And he says, when will mail, calendar, and feeds be available on Android?
Yeah, when it's ready.
When it's ready,
Yeah.
We have a lot of projects going on.
So we did mention iOS earlier. I think we're probably going to ship iOS before we start working on any calendar or mail application for Android.
I think we could say this. We haven't started work on that.
No.
That's the honest answer. But our founder, Jon, loves mail and calendar feeds. Anyone who's ever met him would realize that. And I think at some level, as a company, we basically have to do it because that's the way it's going to go. So, I mean, it will come, but we don't really have a time scale. I think that's fair to say.
No, and just how we're going to do it. I know we're building the desktop mail and calendar was a big task, right? So we need to look into ways of doing it in a smart way, I think. So so not right away, but
no, we can't give a date.
We can't give a date, but we're definitely that's one on the roadmap.
It's happening, but
it's happening.
Can't say when.
Okay. I can't say his name. Can you say his name?
Meluanza?
Thank you.
Maybe, yeah, I tried.
I hope we did it right. And he says, or she, I would love to switch to mobile Vivaldi, but I need to have a VPN. Do you have any plans to integrate this in 2023? And I can say something straight away, not in 2023. I don't think.
No, we don't have a plan for it. But,
well,
we are working on it.
We've looked at it. The thing is, I think what you should say about VPNs, so the thing with VPNs is basically a VPN is used by people for a couple different reasons. There is a bunch of users who maybe they're on networks they don't trust because they don't have a big data bandwidth and they're using public Wi-Fi, or they're in a country where they don't trust their ISP or in turn their government. And they want a VPN to encrypt the connection end to end so that people cannot monitor them. That's one group of users. There is another group of users who have a very different reason for using a VPN, and that is to get around geo-blocking so that they can access content from one country from another country because it's prevented. The first one is a difficult thing to fix in its own right, but basically you only need the one server. You connect to that one server and you encrypt the connection and all is good. The second one, to make it look like you come from other countries, you need servers in all of the countries. And so there is a lot of infrastructure involved in doing this. A way we could do this would be, and we have talked to people before, with VPN providers who already exist and do some kind of deal with them. The only issue I would say there is we have to have a certain level of trust in them, like our users trust us, have a level of privacy with us, and they would expect the same. So, I mean, it could happen if we make the right deal, but it will probably be with some kind of partner, I suspect is the most likely, if we want to do the complete solution.
And like I said, it has to be someone we can kind of trust and make sure it's a good deal. So we're not going to jump into anything.
No.
Just, for doing it. So
no, exactly. So yeah, we are aware basically, and we would like to fix this problem, but it is a little bit more tricky because it is a big infrastructure thing, or we have to have a partner that we really trust, basically. But probably not 2023, but we'll see.
I mean, we are discussing this internally, and we have been looking into options. So that it's something we want to do, right? And so it's on our lists as well.
There's a second question here as well, and then I think we'll just head out to see what people have asked online. They also say, I've stopped using Android version after 5.3.
Oh no.
Which is not good, but we'll read it anyway. It says, it doesn't support the nicknames I've defined in the desktop version, and I'm really not happy about this, but I rely on my nicknames. I have 120 roughly for fast browsing. So this feature, just so people are clear, you can define a nickname and it brings you directly to a URL. So you just type one word and it brings you straight there. And so, what's the deal there?
Well, that is definitely a bug. So And we have a bug report on it, so it's
we'll fix it?
It's going to be fixed.
It's going to be fixed.
It's going to
Okay.
be fixed, yes.
So we'll have them back as a user.
Hopefully
by 5.6 or maybe.
Yeah, hopefully.
Soon.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we did quite a few questions there. I'm just going to see. I think what we'll do now is we'll just go to the online questions. I've got a bunch here. I'm just going to scroll backwards. And let's see. Yeah, I think it kind of starts around here. So we will see Android. We kind of
these
had
are
that one.
these are answered. Here. So
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to pick one? Why does the speed dial flicker on Android when you start the browser?
Yeah, that is probably also a bug because we have seen this.
Is it certain devices or?
No, I think if you enable sync, you will see that this flickers because
Right,
it refreshes a bit too often, probably.
Okay.
it's fetching the images and
Yeah, it's fetching too much.
Okay, so the downside is that's a thing, but the plus side is it's a bug. It's not intended that we intend to
It's
fix
not
it.
intended.
Intended to
Not.
fix
No.
Okay, there's this next one here. AD asks, can I have multiple screens on the same screen like PIP? Oh, I see. Like,
picture.
but maybe they mean like another tab or?
Well, like tiling, and
Okay.
you could do this natively in Android, right? So that also works with Vivaldi. So you could have two instances of Vivaldi, or like two windows of Vivaldi side by side. Maybe that's what they mean. But or are they asking for tab tiling on Android? I don't know.
Could be tab tiling. On the
Yeah.
desktop, for those who don't know, we have a feature called tab tiling. It allows you to take multiple tabs and it will split them up into squares. So it could be something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's a feature we have on desktop, we'd be up for it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we do have things like grouping already. So
Yeah.
the next natural step would be to allow to split them up into tiles.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Yoel44 asks, have you considered a lightweight version for Android, like Opera Mini back in the day?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Not really. We haven't really considered that.
I mean, we did very early before we launched. We talked about maybe we should have a light version before we launch the full version,
Yeah.
but we kind of stepped away.
I think with that particular technology, two of us are actually from Opera in the past. Like the rendering was done off-site; it wasn't done locally. It was for very underpowered phones.
Yeah.
Was the point of it? I mean, I guess maybe some of these people have very old Androids, and that's maybe what they're thinking of. But there is a lot of server infrastructure involved in that kind of a solution again.
Yeah.
So no, it's not something that we're really looking at the moment. I mean, it's an interesting idea, and that was an interesting product for its time, but no, not at the moment. Furkan Ozebek, can you say the name? That was the screen flicker. Okay, we have another one here from Red Band. Okay, it's a bit off topic, but this is kind of fun. Why is Vivaldi named Vivaldi? Who wants to say?
I mean, I don't think we have an official story, but I've heard Jon von Tetzschner, our founder, mention this in some interviews as well. Right? And the previous company, which you just mentioned, also was inspired by this kind of genre of music, right? So I guess it's classical music inspired.
It's a classical music
Yeah.
theme. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
I don't think there's much more to say. And I mean, as a side note, you can see the little V icon is like as a note, as a reference to the musical
You
note.
know what I did?
Yeah, there's also another fun fact on top of that. Like it used to be much thinner, which made the note thing look much more like a note. But we had to change that because when you scale the icon down a lot, it just grew to like a lump. So now it's a little bit thicker, but it is like it's a musical note reference in there if you look hard enough. So there's a small nod to that.
I actually had no idea, but I guess you're a designer, so you think about these things.
Fun fact, yeah. So yeah.
You didn't design the original one,
No, not the V shape. That was done by someone before me.
but this whole squircle we
The
have
squircle
now,
is my
squircle
work
is
here.
your
Yes.
is your change.
Yes.
Right. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. So Stranger asks, can you please consider syncing custom toolbar settings?
As in customizing the toolbar button positions, or what is it? Anything else?
Custom toolbars. What you can do now is select if you want the toolbar on the top or on the bottom.
Yeah, because this is desktop, right? So you can make your own.
Okay. Are they asking about desktop? Right.
It is desktop, so you can make your own quick commands, which you can assign to a button. So you can make kind of little like macros almost in the settings, and you can add those quick commands as a toolbar button. But this is questions about synchronizing them. So
Maybe they mean synchronizing from desktop. But then again, it really makes sense. It looks so different, the UI.
Yeah, we don't have support for custom toolbars on Android yet. But like I said initially, we would be fun to open up even more customization options. So maybe in the future, and then that would obviously be synchronized across where it makes sense. But of course, you have a much bigger toolbar available on desktop versus the mobile. So there would be some limitations. But if you allow the user to select, of course, it's possible. And maybe in the main menu we can have some synchronization happening. But currently it's not possible. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have another one immediately under that. KServe9 asks, can you please make Vivaldi faster? Can you just make it faster?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what is?
I mean, it could be the page load or it could be the UI, because people complain about both things depending on what device you're on and kind of networks.
Yeah.
Some of the speed of the rendering engine, obviously, a lot of it's coming from upstream. There are things that we do, like for instance, our tracker and ad blocker. It's less requests and it will be quicker because of that if you enable it. And then there are other features where you can switch things off. We added a feature recently, the 5.5, the closing of the tabs.
Yeah.
This has an effect on performance, right?
Yeah. And I think this is a general thing. Like if you have 10,000 bookmarks versus one person having 10 bookmarks, there's going to be a difference in performance. So when you speak to people, you get different answers. Some people say, "Oh, Vivaldi is so fast," because for them they have not so much history, perhaps, or they close their tabs more frequently, and then it'll be really, really fast. So it depends, I guess, on your device and your profile and many things. So but of course, we're always working to make it faster, right? But it's not like you can't just do one thing and it becomes faster. It's like a slow, iterative process.
But the data involved in a browser, when it could be your bookmarks, it could be your cache, other things, will affect the browser speed over time. And I've seen that myself. I work as a QA as my main role. And sometimes I look at the forums for the other browsers as well. You'll often have a thing where a user will join a new browser. That could be Vivaldi or Opera, Brave, any of our competitors, right? And they'll initially be like, "This is the fastest browser ever."
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, they turn up and they're like, "Oh, it's really slow." And I think what's happened is they filled up the cache, they put more bookmarks, and and we have some of the same things.
Yeah.
So that could be at least part of the problem. But I mean, we're always looking at speed. Speed is obviously very important. We realize that. So
speed and performance is.
It's a massive thing. So so yes, we'll make it faster.
I mean, we've done some larger efforts over time. We have some releases which have been kind of dedicated to speed and performance, but we do. I mean, it doesn't always happen. It doesn't show in the change logs, but we do a lot of changes all the time, which are related to speed, but they might not show in the change log.
That's true. Like for the change logs, I actually write the change logs for the desktop version, and my colleague Maria writes the ones for the Android version. The change logs that you see publicly are actually not all of the changes.
Right.
So like if we have a version go out and it has like 100 fixes listed, there might be 400 or more. Because sometimes a fix will be like on top of another fix, or it'll be rewriting the code to allow for something in the future. But the rewrite of the code doesn't change the feature set. So it doesn't often make sense to the user. Or sometimes we have a fix and it breaks something else, and we have a fix for that breakage, but we never released the version publicly, so they never saw the breakage, so they don't need to know about the fix. So there is a lot of stuff actually in the changelog that doesn't get mentioned. It's a summarized one, so it makes sense to the user as the idea. And performance is in there.
Right, and oftentimes a bug could be relating to performance, but not necessarily be named something which would indicate it has anything to do with performance. So it's a hard one to kind of pinpoint.
Okay, how much can browsers under Chromium be customized, optimized in terms of performance? Kind of the same question. It's actually the same person. Well, I mean, you can tweak.
Well, this is the page loading again. Exactly. Our UI is our own, right? So that's kind of up to us. So that's not depending on Chromium at all. But the page loading would be more dependent on that, right?
Yeah, I don't think we have a lot to add to that one that we didn't say already, though. So we'll skip on to the next one. Eric Goers asks, any chance follower tabs will be implemented in Android or desktop? Okay, so this is a feature that I've seen in other browsers, and it's like, yeah, you have one tab and you basically clone it and it copies what the other one is doing. So I don't think we've ever talked
I haven't seen this. We have clone tabs. How is this different?
I'll make sure. Maybe Eric wants to write a bit more and he can come back to us and we can expand. Because in case I'm misunderstanding his feature, but I think it copies what the other one's doing. But Eric, if you're still there, have a look and explain it in a bit more detail. We'll try and answer that one. Lycra U asks, could you add the trash bin function in Vivaldi Note for Android? It's annoying because I keep accidentally deleting my note and I can't restore it like in the desktop.
No, we have them, but it might be a confusion with the folder structure because it's if you go to your notes list and you see the list of notes on the top, you can go back one level, and there you'll find the trash. So that might be a little bit of a UX problem we have there because the folder structure is a little bit odd at times. I've seen this happen. So if you go to the notes list, at the very top, there's a little back arrow, a left pointing arrow. That should take you one level back, and then you should see the trash. Or if you have a lot of notes, it could just be at the very, very bottom of the list. So just keep scrolling all the way down. There should be a trash there. And go in there, and then you should be able to restore all of them or individually single notes which you've deleted. So that should be there. Yeah.
But it's always a tricky problem on a small device, though, to like have these things, and people can fumble with their fingers. So I can kind of get it as well. But yeah, they should be restorable.
And it's the same for bookmarks, by the way. So it should be the same. If you've done it with the bookmarks, it's the same for notes, the same kind of trash and structure.
Okay. We have one from Leonard Maloney, who says, even though Vivaldi is good for privacy, why is Brave rated higher than Vivaldi in terms of privacy? Can Vivaldi become as close to Brave in terms of privacy like fingerprint randomization in Brave? Well, it's a tricky one, this, because it depends on who's rating it and what they think. I remember when we were looking at like a tracker blocker, I remember there was a site that was looking at us, and what they were doing is they were trying to test how well we blocked elements. And they were using a test where that page had elements from their own servers. And so they were not being blocked because our tracker blocker works in a way where it's looking at blacklists of like of URLs and matches certain things, but it's not looking at behavioral stuff. And I think Braves does some of that. So I think you would actually get in the real world just as good a result. But going back to this one specifically, we do look at things like fingerprint randomization and so on. And there is work planned there, at least on desktop, and I assume it will come later on. So, I mean, I think it's just something we have to look at some more. But I mean, I think that we're biased, right? But I think the opinion is out that they're actually better than us on the whole.
I think this is also could be. I mean, it's a perception thing, right? In marketing, and since day one, Brave has been very, they've been pushing privacy as the number one thing since the beginning, right? And we are kind of a bit more broad in our approach. So they've been kind of very clear about privacy, but we do pretty much the same thing. So in real life, I think we're pretty much equally private as them. So it could be a perception thing as well.
Okay, we got the follow-up from Eric Goers as well. He said follow a tab. So link in one tab opens another tab. Great for research. I think what he means is it automatically opens. So it just, instead of you click it, opens in the same one, it opens straight away in another tab. Great for research. Because I think what he's doing, I would imagine what he's doing is he's...
So not background tabs.
Well, I guess, but maybe more automatic so that you don't have to click and long click and hold and open in the background and so on.
So just any link you click will open automatically.
Yeah, I guess if you think of a Wikipedia page and you go down through the links and you click them, boom, 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 boom. I mean, it might be that you could switch it on temporarily as well.
Yeah.
That could be a thing that you could do.
This sounds like a setting we could have.
Yeah, maybe a setting for it. I mean, I think it's definitely possible. I think we should have a look at the one. He mentioned it was old pre-Opera 13.
If you haven't added a bug request or feature request for this, please do in the forums, so we can
we can have a look. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it definitely seems like something we could do.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I think most of the ones that we've been sent by our team, we have a little team who's moderating this for us, and they've sent us things. I think we've gone through most of the ones there. I can go on and see if there's any other ones in the main area, perhaps.
But there are more new ones at the bottom. So.
There's more new ones as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Well, we've done Leonard Maloney and Eric Goers.
Oh, you did, yeah, that
Yeah.
strike that. Yeah.
So if our friendly moderators want to have a quick look if they have any more from us. Otherwise, we probably have something we can talk about in the meantime. How much did we say about iOS and our plans
Nothing,
for it?
actually, surprisingly.
We plan to talk a bit more about iOS. We kind of hinted at it before. So I think while we wait, maybe we could say something about iOS, because actually that's one of the biggest questions, like, when will you do iOS?
Yes.
So
we are working on this, right?
Yeah.
And we have been for a little while. So we have it running, of course, internally. So it's being worked on, and we hope to launch it in, not too far away. And we do have a page you can go to sign up to get notified when we do launch. So, but yeah, it's definitely a fun project to work on. I'm involved there as well. So
yeah,
some crossover, and we have a team working on it. So I mean, it's coming soonish.
Yeah, it's tricky
Yeah.
because I think people's expectations should be correct on this one as well. Like, if you look at the initial version of Android, it had one or two big features like the ad block and so on, but it wasn't as polished and as complete as it is now. It was kind of like a stripped down version of Vivaldi on the desktop, and in some ways it's still catching up. In other ways, there are one or two things we've actually trialed on Android first, like the automatic closing of tabs. So it will be the same with iOS. When it first comes out, it won't have everything for Android, but that will change as time goes on.
Yeah.
And I think we have to make some judgment calls there. So at the moment, we feel like we don't want to just give you a version. Okay, this is just Chrome rebranded as Vivaldi.
No.
We want more of our features in there.
Yeah, we
So-
want to have a certain level of quality and polish, right? So we can't. I mean, we have it. It's working, right? But
It's not quite.
where we want it to
No,
be.
exactly.
So
So I mean, I think there are certain things that we can expect in the first version. Like, people will expect to be able to sync. They'll expect to be able to use things like notes and so on.
the speed dials and
Speed dials
Yeah.
and so on. So I think once we get to a level of polish, then we can start sharing it more publicly.
Yeah.
But yes, we are working on it. For a long time we weren't, but we definitely are now.
Yes.
So it will come. It will come.
Yeah.
This is also what I was alluding to earlier when I said Jarle is in charge of mobile browsers.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, the car is a mobile browser as well. It's a car. Okay, Manifest V3 related. Apoloptico?
Apocalypto.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Asked, will the ad blocker be expanded in functionality and be up in par with the likes of uBlock Origin, like element picking and cosmetic filtering? We would like to take it further, basically.
Yeah, I think the short answer is yes.
Yes. Again, the timescale is tricky for that, but the idea is to keep building on it. And then I think there will be, when Manifest V3 comes out, if it comes out the way we expect and things that massively change, Google can always change their mind and so on.
Yeah.
People will be missing those features more and expect more from us.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can deliver there. So yeah, the plan is we're not done with the tracker ad blocker yet. I do think for most people it works pretty well, but I know that it's not every single thing that you can do it.
No, and we like to cater to power users, right? So they
Yeah.
want complete control, which is totally fair. So we hope to do that, right? I mean, nothing is ever finished, by the way. So
No, exactly. That's true for
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So we will keep working on it, and I think we all want to have more, features in there ourselves. So.
Yeah. I'm sure if things go the way it seems like they'll go, there will be more and more requests for this, particularly on desktop, because the situation on desktop is there are these other rival systems, and it's less so because of the lack of extensions and Chromium browsers on Android. But the desktop browser will be shouting, and if we make it for the desktop browser, it will just come for Android. I mean, we'll have to do some UI and so on.
Yeah.
But the underlying work will be done.
Yeah.
So yes, we will be doing more. Mathematics Bootcamp asks, is it possible to provide Google Keep Notes and task integration in the Android app?
Well, I mean, we do have our own notes, and now very recently tasks on desktop. So
the tasks, we can say something there, because the tasks on desktop is actually powered by a back end of Calendar.
Right.
It's using either a local calendar or like a CalDev online calendar. And we did talk earlier, like it's in some level,
Yeah.
We're not quite sure how we do it. We want to bring mail and calendar and feeds, right?
Yeah.
And if we bring calendar in some form to Android, then we would have, you could connect to your Google tasks in calendar.
And I mean, of course, you can also open up Google Keep and Google Notes in Android. On Vivaldi on Android. So that's of course possible, but there's no.
If you mean to sync directly, I don't think we're going to sync directly like in our UI to Google Keep Notes and so on.
No, but again, that said, on the desktop you can add your Google Calendar account to our calendar, which will sync tasks and whatnot. So that way it kind of works. But there is a difference between Google, what do they call it, Keep, task, and the calendar event. Like calendars can be tasks, and there are also dedicated tasks in that separate panel. So there are some differentiation there. So I can't know for sure which one he's referring to, but we do support the calendar version at least, or she. Yeah.
I think we probably have time for like one more question. We're pretty much there.
Yeah.
So let's see if one of our moderators is typing to us right now, so we'll have to see what they say. This is a question to Jarle specifically, and it is: why do we need a browser in the car?
Why do you need a browser in the car?
And you have a car with our browser, right? So you should be the perfect person as well.
Well, personally, I use it if I'm on the road and charge the car. Then you can watch your favorite movie or whatever.
YouTube live.
And why over a phone though? You have your phone with you, right?
You have your phone, but the screen in the car is much bigger.
Yes,
the audio system.
And the audio system is much better.
All integrated. You don't have to mess around with Bluetooth or anything like that. It's all just
it's just there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Yeah.
Okay. I think at this stage that's probably all we've got time for. I just want to say a massive thanks to both of you two, and also everyone who connected and all the questions. And if we missed anyone, I'm really sorry. We do have our forums. If you would like to go to vivaldi.net, you can pick up our forums and just ask any questions there, and perhaps one of us or one of the rest of the team will reply to you if you have more questions or suggestions or whatever. But that's probably all we have time for today.
Yep.
So I want to say again, thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone else.
Thanks for following us and supporting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's a wrap.